players commit. Tigre, it's all up to him as he gets it into the corner. Metsadars was causing some chaos on the shot, but here, now back to Tigre with the play.
On the middle, Classics with another demo. Drippe, did he get the flip reset? Drippe, welcome to North America. Enjoy your stay.
What is going on, everyone, and welcome to Esports in 30, the show where we take a deep dive into a different esport each day of the week. I'm Brody, and of course, this is Nick on the couch with me, and it's Thursday, and that means it's Rocket League time. For you guys that don't know Nick, he's a producer from the show and a huge-time RL enthusiast. Yeah. Last weekend was wild.
Yeah, it's been a super long offseason without any... One DreamHack is not enough to satisfy the Rocket League craving. We need some pure octane boost in the veins.
It into my veins. Well, we're going to do exactly that. We've got a lot of ground to cover in just 30 minutes, so let's jump into it. First up, North America. Here's the highlights.
On the middle, Classics with another demo. Drippe, did he get the flip reset? Drippe, welcome to North America. Enjoy your stay.
Beautiful car control, and he slows down with his boost. He doesn't keep boosting the entire time.
Chicago flopped into the midfield. Jams the field's back. Here comes Rizzo. Puts it on the backboard. Chicago's airborne. Typical's not quite there. And here comes Jams with the last one. Oh, no! Torment should have this. Actually does not make contact. A failure on the trajectory. Now here comes infield pass. And Squish that nose. I think Squishy scored this.
Let's find out.
Shot?
Let's find out.
Yeah, because his nose got on the pass here. Which means that Squishy gets bumped into a full shot from Pharma. Oh my goodness.
Last chance for Rogue. Off the ceiling, Krenove crossbar down.
Gets second touch on Typical. Sathu into the corner, Chicago up to play it back down to the middle. Here comes J-Naps with a shot. You can do nothing. G2 play. Something that teams have been doing for seasons, but we've seen it demoed a lot today. Sathu gets through, is that in? Oh my, what? And he ties the game. Sathu by himself wins the kickoff and wins the challenge.
That one definitely off the kickoff. J-Naps thought he could get there, and boy, was he close.
Just a one-goal game in the final countdown, but Karma getting a pass too. J-Wiz lurking in the midfield.
Oh, that's it, that's it.
To pass across. Nosegod puts it in, and with 1 second left, it's a tie game.
And make the defense really think about what he's going to do with the ball is what really gives NRG the scary edge. It's a quick 1-2, left the mirror to memory into the right-hand side.
North America was full of super close games and more than a few RLCS debuts, so why don't we just talk with the new kids on the block. It's our previously promoted rival series teams. I honestly think they showed up with fire.
I think that they played pretty well. I thought, let's start with Splice. Trevor, friend knows dude, friend of the show. It was pretty weird seeing him play, you know, on the big stage for the first time, but it was awesome.
He's all grown up.
They took Cloud9 to a really hard fought. The 3-0 does not tell how close the series was.
No, they were all overtimes.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Now, that's not to say that Cloud9 was, you know, they were not at the top of their game by any stretch, I don't think. But the fact that Splice came out so strong and really pushed Cloud9, I think is really, really positive signs for Splice so far.
Yeah, the hardest thing is like when you watch, and I told you to go back and watch them again, and you noticed this too. But the one thing I'm really loving about Splice is that they're working really well together. You see a lot of their touches become passes into the center field with good work against them, and
maybe a bit too much.
Yeah, and their creativity though, it's there, and that's something that's really hard to teach people is creativity. So I'm really excited to see them. The issue is they just straight up miss balls sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of the Cloud9 overtime goal winners, for example, was like defensive misses, or they were looking for that outlet pass and Cloud9 read it because they never cleared. I rewatched the series this morning, and they never cleared the ball. They would always look for somebody on the wall to do that outlet pass from kind of the goal mouth up onto the wall and then out into the midfield. And that just bit them sometimes. Like Gimmick was just right there reading that wall, getting right in front of it, and putting it into an easy spot for Squishy to like tap in games. I believe it was 2.
Well, that's the thing is like, you know, if you do the same thing, eventually you're going to condition your opponents to read you, understand, okay, they're always putting it here. They're not clearing it hard. Sometimes you need that hard clear. You need the reset. Give away possession.
Eventually you're going to have to make a 1v1 play, and it seemed like maybe Splice was a bit afraid to take on Cloud9 in a 1v1, seeing they were losing a lot of the challenges. and it bit them in the end. But this 3-0, I think, was a good start for them. And
Absolutely.
they did beat Ghost 3-2, another close series.
Yeah.
But they got their first win. And they were popping on Twitter.
Well, I guess we can probably talk about Ghost. Well, I guess Space Station Gaming first, then we'll get into Ghost, because Ghost is having a bit of a problem right now. Space Station Gaming also looked really solid, the previous Bread roster. These guys, I don't know, they came out with intensity, too. It almost reminded me of like a baby Barcelona team, you know?
And I mean, I think that Bread/Space Station Gaming did exactly what you need to do coming into the league, and you're facing a hard opponent like G2 for the first time right off the bat, and they went hard, full aggression, full speed, full boost all the way, challenging every single ball in the midfield. There wasn't a ball that they didn't challenge, and sometimes that led them to the two wins in the first 2 games, and sometimes it kind of bit them, where when G2 started speeding up and picking that pace as well, and maybe SSG slowed down just a touch, the touches were going the other way for like games 3 and 4 and 5, and it led to that reverse sweep. But I really, really like what SSG did. They put together some really strong games, and just like Splice, I think you said it, the accuracy maybe was not was the dagger.
I think what they're realizing now is, now that they're in a league with these top dogs that have had all this RLCS experience, they're realizing, okay, we don't have as much time. We're pressured a lot more. The time to take these shots isn't there anymore. You have to make very split decisions. Your shots can't be set up as long. You got to take them quick, and accuracy as a result starts to suffer from that.
I mean, it sucked big time, because we saw in that, I believe it was game 2 overtime, which they did end up winning anyways, but they had like 4 or 5 quality chances to put the game away, and they didn't. And then G2 came the other way, and Chicago actually stopped his own ball from going in the net. I don't know if you remember that. He was coming off the ceiling, and he just gets right in front of it. So by all rights, SSG should have lost that game, but they also should have won it, because they should have finished this game like 2 minutes into overtime and not 7 minutes into overtime. So I mean, I think that's a combination of, like, like I said, you said the touches and the split-second decision-making, but also the experience. You saw the experience difference between G2 and SSG. G2, Rizzo, JNAPS, they've been around the block a few times. They can pick up the speed if they need to and match a team like SSG in this situation, and we saw it. Yeah,
we don't have to talk about it too much. I just want your 10-second thought on Illusion now with Ghost, now that we've seen them play their 2 games.
Yeah, a lot of people were, during the broadcast, the cast were saying, maybe he's had a history of kind of those trust issues with new teammates or something like that. And I don't think necessarily that was the case here. And in fact, he tweeted, it wasn't a trust issue, it was a miscommunication issue, which I don't know if that's better or worse.
But
good. Ghost has already dug themselves into a big hole. They're playing a couple of really tough opponents next week. Their offense was pretty low this week. I think they had like 6 out of 9 games. They only had one goal or less.
Yeah, they sat back.
Yeah, and I think that Ghost Evolution has potential, but boy, you got to reach that potential really quick in a 5-week season.
It's fine to play defensively as long as you're getting the counterattacks you need, and then you play those aggressive. But if you lose the aggression on even the counterattacks, you're getting nothing. But we also got to talk about right now Rogue EG. Of course, Drippy has been the biggest question mark.
I was super excited to see this guy play.
Yeah. But I don't know if I was super impressed. There were a lot of mistakes still being made rotationally. Well, you had one flip reset. That doesn't fix all of the
one flip reset does not a series make.
Yeah.
This series on rewatch, I was less and less impressed with both teams the more I watched this series, in the sense that like 80% of the goals were like defensive lapses, broken plays, missed coverage, all this sort of stuff. EG really got there in the game 4 and 5 and rightfully won the series, and Drippe got more comfortable as time went on. I think that this EG roster shows the signs of life that you're looking for, whereas on Rogue's side, the offense just completely dried up in that series. 0 goals in games 4 and 5, and against a team that was looking kind of as shaky as EG was, that's not good enough.
So going forward, which one do you think is going to have a better route?
I like EG a little bit better here. I think that the ceiling. I think the ceiling is higher on EG. Kronovi had a couple decent games, but and the former FlyQuest duo, Wonder and AJ, had a couple good synergies. But I just think that the ceiling is much higher on EG.
Let them know in chat if you think he's wrong, but I'm pretty sure we're all going to agree on there. And just quickly, your thoughts on the big 3. I mean, like, it seems like that kind of just went the way we expected it. I mean, like NRG, C9, G2, a little bit of a question mark, but for sure, like, at the end of the day, those other 2 teams.
I mean, you and I were talking about this, and the one note I said is that much like our local sports team, which I won't name, but it starts with T and it ends with Renault Maple Leafs, the top teams need to start on time, right? They like C9, NRG, and G2. They can't let teams that are on paper worse than them, like, you know, your Splice and your Ghost and your Space Station Gamings, play you close for the first like game and a half, right? It doesn't work like that. And when you go against each other, you need to start on time. That was the one note I had. Otherwise, it was, it was, you know,
it was NA as usual.
Exactly.
That's true. All right, that's it for NA, but there's a whole other region to talk about, and thankfully, we've got an awesome guest phoning in from EU to take us through it. While we call him up, why don't you check out these highlights?
They had to keep the pressure on. Ronicky has space to work with, though, and Casio now dumping it into the box. Are you kidding me? He gets a bit of help from the bricks here, but an insane situation to put that defender in.
And just a quick turn from Ronicky. Casio staying on the wall here. How does this... That's insane.
Up to a lot, looking for the pass play, a more understandable situation there. They drop it back into the box. Can they find the shot? Two players commit. Tigre, it's all up to him as he gets it into the corner. Metzenars was causing some chaos on the shot, but here, now back to Tigre with the play.
Oh, fake.
A nice fake on Turbo now. Pushing this one back into the corner. He's got two players in front. Bluey will put it high. Can he find the double tap? Almost gets it. Here's the follow-up from Devo to finish it off.
Scrub will get there first. And K-Dot passes right back to him. A center ball to Ferry. Ferry taking his time, and he blasts it through. Tigre was far post in a spot where a lot could just get to it and squeeze it in. And that's a fancy way to end it. A good challenge from Chaussette. Now you can see Chaussette and Scrub
just take a little fight midfield.
Now what some would argue is rule number one, and now the follow-up Scrub Killa.
Back away, Yukio into the corner, very high and coming down in his favor. He gets it off the woodwork again. They cannot get it into the goal.
Yukio under a lot of pressure there, maybe feeling that somebody from Savage was going to be rotating into the net, and he had to make it quick, and they will get punished back the other way.
Opportunities both go away. This Cookser setting this one up for himself. Oh, beautiful tap. I didn't think he'd hit it. Rather, having to play some defense, gets that one away just enough to the corner.
And again, some more double commits from Maus, allowing free space for TSM to work with. Pass to iGnite, and they've got everyone beating the net. The lead back to TSM.
Europe is insanely competitive already, and it's just week one. Now, to give us a bit of an inside perspective, we're lucky enough to have the second handsomest man in RLCS and manager of Renault Sport Team Vitality's RL squad, Mike Gregan Ellis. What's up, buddy? By the way, he wrote that.
I did.
Thank you very much, Leafex, for being so egotistical and putting yourself at number one.
Of course.
See, I've worked with Brody long enough that I know what he would say in that situation.
Well, you nailed it there, Nick.
All right, well, why don't we dive into, of course, your team, Vitality. I mean, may as well pick your brains while you're here. Let's just start off with one of the biggest news, of course, is the roster change. K-Dot coming from Dignitas, dropped in. This man's a multiple-time world champion. I'm just wondering how he's fit into the team, if it's been very easy, or if there's been a bit of a struggle to find his place.
Well, if we're talking gameplay-wise, K-Dot could fit in any team because he's just so good at rotations. He's got incredibly solid mechanics. He doesn't try and do anything too fancy. And so you can kind of form a team around K-Dot, and he can find his space within any team. So that side of it's great, but from the actual org side, it's been brilliant because he's French. We're a massive French organization. His stream numbers have gone up. His following's gone up. He's just had a great time working with a French team because when you contact your social media guy or whatever, it's great to be able to just talk in your own language. So for him, it's helped him relax and made him feel a lot at home, which has been the best side of it, I think.
That's true. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. A player I've been really interested in his story is Scrub Killa, actually.
Who hasn't really? Right?
Yeah, he had a lot of eyes on him during the first season, and now that this is his second season in the RLCS, I wanted to see what you think his growth has been in terms of those intangibles like communication and teamwork from last season to now.
So he's still young. There's a lot to work on, and I think he knows that. And I think he's very much got his eyes set on when he's full-time, he's going to work really hard. Because right now he's at school still. And in fact, last week he had his last day of school, and he's now going through the exam period where he's got full days off, except for when he gets exams in a few weeks' time. And when that's all finished, we're going to work really closely with him to try and make him the best player possible. Because I think working in a league where pretty much everyone is full-time when you're part-time at school is incredibly difficult to push your limits. And so at the moment, we're relying on his raw talent and ability to step up in those pressure moments. You wait until the end of this year, he's going to be incredible.
Speaking of raw talent, there's a third guy on the team. As this is threes, Fairy Peak. Fairy Peak was a bit of a question mark, I know, for a lot of fans last season. You know, sometimes taking things into his own hands, which is a bit of an issue because we know he can, because he's an insane player. You know, I saw a couple during last week where he's like, it looks like he wants to get back up there. Has there been a system implemented to make sure that, you know, he's always watching out for his teammates, trusting his teammates, and making sure that they can work as a team dynamic?
Well, I think being with KDOP on the team and that synergy they've had in the past is a huge step for him, because it allows him to trust his teammates a lot. With Pashy, it was starting to get to that stage where he didn't quite trust the ability Pashy had, just because it varied so much and he had such a lull in the off-season. It's very hard to build up that trust throughout the season.
That's true.
And then with Scrub Killer coming in, Scrub was quite an erratic player at the start, and we've kind of had to find out where his position is within the team. And I think that's actually meant Fairy Peak has taken more of a step back and been more of a rotational player, where before he was a very chasey player. So it's very much changed the way he plays, and he's very willing to open up his mind and go, I'll play whatever I need to play for the team, as long as I can put the faith in my teammates to do so. So it's definitely helped him become a more solid player and a more respectable threes player, where obviously in the past he's been very much the carry of the team.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, and so far that mentality's paid off. You guys got your first win over PSG this past week, but it doesn't get any easier. Next week, you're facing Dignitas and FC Barcelona, two incredibly tough opponents on paper. Can you walk us through sort of the preparation that you're seeing in mind to get the team ready for these two squads?
Well, for us, PSG was the big scary fixture, because we obviously cursed ourselves a bit in the past by saying we didn't want to lose to them. But now we've got that out of the way. That was, in our mind, the toughest fixture, because we feel like we can beat any team as long as we play our best. And I think playing your best is the biggest challenge within competitive Rocket League, because all of these teams in the RLCS have the ability to beat each other on their highs, and the consistency in performing at the top is the challenge. So this week, Barcelona and Dignitas, two teams that can perform at those really high highs very frequently. That's why they're scary. But I think if we can get our results in our favor this week, then that'll put us in an incredible spot in the standings. Because let's be honest, every week is so important in RLCS, with it only being 5 weeks.
Yep.
So these two fixtures, they're our big ones. Once we've got those out the way, we'll see. I mean, we've got TSM and the Bricks the week after. It doesn't get any easier. That's just Europe for you.
Yeah, it's like, okay, maybe it'll be easy next week. No, it's still just as hard.
Every week is a gauntlet.
Yeah, it's brutal. Well, that transitions us nicely to talk about PSG. You know, PSG's had a bit of, I guess, a struggle breaking out of that middle pack. You know, they've always kind of been that gatekeepers, like, you're not getting the top unless you go through us. Is there a change that's maybe needed for PSG? Like, are you seeing maybe like a roster switch, or is it? Do you think they can do it with the roster they have?
I mean, Fruity and Chazette are incredibly mechanical. Farah is incredibly smart. He's got loads of ideas that a lot of Rocket League players haven't even thought about, which makes him a solid 3v3 player and the great captain that he is. I think PSG have the ability, like I said, to beat any team. I think any team in RLCS, maybe Triple Trouble and Mouse have to prove that a little bit this season, but I think any of the top 6 can beat anyone. And PSG have struggled to consistently do that. And I think a lot of that comes down to their mindset in game, because you've seen it so many times with them. They get 2 games up against, like, Dignitas. They can get 2 games up against Dignitas and then throw it completely away. And that is the struggle that the players have in their mindset. And I think perhaps a little bit of support from PSG as the org could help them take that next step, a little bit of psychological side, which is starting to happen now more in Rocket League as we're getting bigger and bigger development in the orgs and the players.
Now, you mentioned them, and I did want to touch on Triple Trouble and Mouse. Triple Trouble got their first win against the Bricks. Mouse got their first win against Triple Trouble. Starting with Mouse, do you think that a lot being added to the squad is enough to keep them out of that kind of bottom 2 relegation territory? Was this the move that was needed?
Well, to credit Mouse, they work incredibly hard. And I've always been a big believer that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that's the kind of mantra we're going by at the moment, because you have to work hard now. You have to put in the hours. You have to do the research. You're seeing coaches now come in. That's part of it. It's making it easier for these teams to work hard. I think Mouse are trying to do that, but I don't think they've got that experience yet as a team of 3. And I don't think they've got that consistency to be able to take down a lot of the RLCS, which is why a lot of people thought they were going to be finding themselves at the bottom. But they did show up against Triple Trouble, so perhaps they are a team that performs under pressure, and we'll see that, because it's a completely different environment playing in the RLCS compared to playing in scrims, compared to playing in ranked. And so I think a lot definitely brings that boost, because he has had that clutch factor in the past.
What do you mean? If I'm a grand champ in ranked, I can't be a pro? That doesn't translate? What are you talking about?
Unfortunately not. It's crazy. I've always been out of the comms when the team's playing, but after last season, we kind of said, I'm going to be in there to help communicate with them, help them relax, or help give them a fourth voice if they're struggling for ideas. And for the most part, I don't really do much. I'm just there listening, and the difference in comms between scrims and in RLCS, just for example, you hear hyperventilation. It obviously is making their heart rate go up. Yeah. It's obviously making them communicate more. They sound more chaotic. When goals go in, they get so much more hype over it. When goals go in against us, we get so much more frustrated. It means that bit more. And if you're not able to control that emotional side of it, then it's a completely different style of play, because it can affect you completely differently.
That's a really cool insight into that. Yeah, just how it can change from scrims.
When it's game time, you get that, your adrenaline is pumping. It's hard to keep that under control.
That's true. Now, a team we have to, of course, talk about, the previous Savage roster, now FC Barcelona. These guys are coming in with ferocity, like just absolute straight aggression. And I'm just wondering if you think that, if they've hit their ceiling. They took down Dignitas, one of the hardest teams. Well, I guess they're all hard now, but, that was the team to take down, and FC Barcelona did it pretty convincingly. Have they hit their ceiling, or do they have a long way to go?
Well, they obviously were trying to mimic that Cloud9 style in the past, but I think they've actually started transitioning towards a more European style of strong rotations, hitting the ball hard at each other. After watching the game against Dignitas, they're taking a lot less risks with the flare plays, but when they do have that space, they have the ability to do things like flip resets, to do crazy things. I was watching the replays, and Bluey did a helicopter musty flick at one point. Now, obviously that didn't work at the time, because if it did, we'd all be seeing it on clips everywhere. But it's the fact that they can threaten with those options that makes them dangerous. So with the combination of that and the rotation, I think they're going to be incredibly scary, because Alpha has just stepped up his quality of equipment that he uses at home. He was using a laptop on 60 hertz before. Now he's got, I don't know how many frames, too many frames. So he's never going to see a stutter in his life. And that's scary that he's stepped up even higher than what he was before. And now they're living together, Bluey Devo with their sub by Matios and Roken. They're all living together, so that kind of team synergy is going to boost. There's so many reasons why they can go higher and higher from where they are now, and I think they're definitely going to be one to look out for this season.
I'm stoked.
It's super competitive, and we did mention that FC Barcelona beat Dignitas, who are the top of the league right now on paper.
On paper.
But we have seen that they brought in Yukio during the offseason. They won DreamHack with Yukio. But from your perspective, was Yukio the right choice for this team in terms of long term, like looking ahead to this season's finals and maybe in the next season as well?
It's hard to say, because it's hard to fill KDot's shoes in any team, and it's also a very different role. I think Yukio is a very much a flair player when we describe what we're saying with Barcelona. He's got the ability to do crazy plays. He's incredibly quick in the air, and he takes a lot more risks than KDot did. So that means the whole team has to shift their play style around him. They obviously are incredibly good on paper, like you said, because they won DreamHack. They've got the raw talent to do it. But as teams start to get more set and start to get used to each other, I think they're still going to have to shift their roles a bit, because they're not going to be able to do the old style of Turbo causing chaos, Violent Panda setting up goals, and KDot booming them in. It's just not going to work that way, because Yukio plays such a different style.
Now, of course, I wanted to talk about the bricks, but I feel like a lot of it just came down to speed, having playing from North America.
Because slightly high ping.
A little bit of a high ping. So what I want to do is move on now to the fan questions, because we actually had a lot. We reached out to Twitter and Reddit, and they had some really good questions. We have a bunch here. We unfortunately won't be able to get to all of them, but I'm going to start off with John, aka Always. He was on Reddit, and he asked, "Who's the one team you, Vitality, yet to play since you came on board that you really want to compete against?"
I mean, we've got Barcelona this weekend, so it's definitely them. They're a team that are just going to get better and better, and we've always struggled against them when we've scrimmed against them. So I think to challenge ourselves, that will be a good one. But in terms of for the fun of it, I definitely think more North American teams, because we've not had an opportunity to play many intercontinental matches. I mean, the last time we did would have been Landon, and then DreamHack we got the chance to play NRG, and it was so much fun to play against players we hadn't had the chance to compete against.
I mean, it's not,
those lands are great for that.
Yeah, and he's not like he's picking, you know, you're not picking easy teams. You guys want to go against the best. RFC Barcelona, NRG, some tough competition.
That's how you get good.
We've got another question off Reddit for you from Kozelico, and they ask, should Psyonix promote more manager/coach interactions at LANs, and is there any benefit to that, and how much, and when do the teams interact with coaches currently?
Good question.
It's a very good question. It's a hard one to answer because every team is very different in how the manager or coach role is put upon the team. So in my case, I'm very much take all the stress of organization away from my team. In other teams, the individuals organize themselves, but they have a coach who helps analyze their game. And in some teams, they have both. And I think to be able to normalize that across the board is very tricky. But what you can do is you can make it look more professional by involving the organizations, the managers, the coaches in the way you present the team. So last RLCS Worlds, we had interviews with, I think, Mike Prindeville from Dignitas. That shows that he's behind the team. I think Fireworks got an interview. He's an incredible coach. He represents the Evil Geniuses really well. So those kind of situations I think are great because it shows that these players aren't just 3 players who've turned up from ranked and are amazing. They've got a whole team supporting them behind them. And I think that's just going to get more and more as more teams have those options in the future.
Now, this next question actually kind of rolls in with how you're talking about, you know, comms can change and, you know, frustrating moments can be more frustrating. Ninja Taco from Reddit says, how do you deal with tilting, the players getting tilted and frustrated during tournaments?
Yeah, every player is different, and I think as time goes on, you start to learn how your teammates react. And one thing I learned from DreamHack is that Scrub reacts very positively to, come on, let's win this kind of attitude, where Fairy Peak and K-Dot react very well to, you've done really well so far, let's just have some fun. And like everyone's way of relaxing is different. And obviously Fairy Peak and K-Dot being able to relax each other because they're so close, they can speak French to each other, that's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
I reset by drinking water. I feel like the process of drinking water kind of, I like to think of it as cleansing me, and that's the restart. And it's just about trying those different things, and that's what we're doing this year. Is we're trying to create habits, healthy habits that make the players consistent. How they drink throughout a tournament, how they eat throughout a tournament, what they do in the mornings, trying to make them aware of their own habits.
Hey, but also huge advice to everybody out there. Anytime you're in between a match, go get a glass of water. It helps a lot.
And I mean, as you said, the physical health of the player counts so much, and I think that's becoming more and more. And if you're tilting your rankings, maybe you didn't get enough sleep last night. That's a big thing, too. So we're going to close with one last fan question, and it's a fun one. It's from Stumpy Goblin on Twitter.
Of course it is.
He asked, how did you get your face so malleable?
Stumpy, what?
There's a kind of joke within the UK guys that we're quite close and we joke about each other. Like I joke about Stumpy's eye because he's got a wonky eye, and they like the fact that I've got very stretchy skin. I don't know why, and I can like move my face in weird ways that they find quite funny.
I'm glad you're explaining it to us, because when I saw this one on Twitter, I had absolutely no idea what this question was about. I had to put it in. I didn't know what it meant, though.
Yeah, you needed to find out. You need to find out. Everyone's got their own little talent. Mine is I've got a stretchy face, and they find it hilarious whenever I stretch it, so I do it. And it's a terrible habit to get into to make people laugh by putting your face in weird ways. But it works.
Brilliant. I'm glad that we got to the bottom of that one. Some serious progress made today.
We can add that to your trivia page.
That's brilliant. Anyways, Gregan, we are unfortunately out of time. It's been amazing to have you on the show. Best of luck to you and the boys in the coming weeks of RLCS. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much. It's been a joy talking to you guys, and good luck with your hosting, Leaf. It's been great so far.
Thank you. That was some really good insight. Now, I want to get your thoughts on something real quick. Of course, the esports shop has been a huge talk for fans around everywhere, and now we actually have some more details about what's going on there. You know, 30% of the everything bought is going to be going to the teams. You know, we saw we're going to get wheels and decals and stuff. So, like, I'm pretty friggin' stoked, but I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty happy to see that it was going to be wheels and decals and all the whole shebang, because you know, if it had been just banners, I don't think that would have been enough. The one thing that I was a little bit interested to see is that they said on the website it was going to be 30%, as you mentioned, but they didn't be clear if it was like a collective revenue where it's like, you know, this total 30% of all sales is distributed evenly among the teams, or if it's 30% of the items relating to your team, right? So the model is different depending on which team you are. Like if you're a smaller team like an SSG, you probably like the former. Whereas if you're like a popular team like an NRG or C9, you like the latter. And I would, I think it's a great thing to have. I just think a little bit of clarity for the fans and for other orgs as well, who are potentially interested in getting to this game. Because if you're a new org, you much prefer having a collective.
Regardless, I'm going to be buying every single item.
Oh, don't.
You're like, yeah, me too.
I feel bad for kind of the players, though, who haven't had their items. Like, you're going to be Bluey, and you'll be looking over at, like, all the other cool skins, and you'll look at your playing card, and you'll be like, soon.
Soon. All right, perfect. That's it for us, though. I just want to say thank you to Gregan, and thanks to you guys at home for watching. Tomorrow, right here, we've got Zurich and Marissa talking CSGO Star Series Season 7, and you know that's going to be sick. Follow us on all the socials at Squad State for more. Peace.
Listen, I'm all about